Well, Gary, a couple of days after our second loss of the year to Collingwood by 37 points, how's your emotions been looking back on the game so far?
Yeah, obviously pretty disappointing, Sam, to be honest. And you go through it and you dissect it pretty deeply, and you've always got to give credit where it's due. And I thought Mason Cox was outstanding, and probably his 6-goal effort certainly had a very, very big say in Collingwood's winning performance. But I also thought the fact that they had, between two of their defenders, it was about 66 possessions between those two boys. So you think they've had a lot of ball across their half-back line, which we always felt they were pretty good down back with their rebounding and ball use. And then, of course, you sort of look at through the midfield there, and I thought Jared Blair was a really good player in and around the stoppages, and Mains ended up kicking 5 goals as well. So between Cox and Main, there's 11 goals, and I thought they were very good in the air too, even from a size point of view. And I'm not just talking about the physical bulk, but I'm just talking about their overall height, and they outmarked us, whether it was 2v1 or 3v2 or 1v1. So intercept marks and marks in general are able to give you an established ball movement pattern, and once they got the ball we couldn't get it back off them. We had 110 less possessions than what we've been basically averaging, so you're probably almost looking like you got 4 or 5 less players out there on the ground. So they were pretty dominant, and even when we got back to half time, it was only 1 point. 3 goals at 3/4 time. There were moments where we failed to, I guess, give ourselves an opportunity to stay in the game and put pressure on Collingwood.
You mentioned Mason Cox. He was by far the most dominant player on the ground, and every opponent we tried he just continued to beat. Not the first time he's been a prominent player against us either, unfortunately, but in that situation, aside from the individual sort of positional swaps, is there anything that you guys can do from the coach's box to stop his impact on the game, or is it just a matter of trying to prevent his teammates from actually kicking the ball to him?
Yeah, well, in an ideal world, that's what we'd like. But I think what we've also got away from, and this is probably something that stood out to me in the coach's box, is that our frontal pressure on the opposition. So if it's a kick that comes in quite high, we know Mason Cox has obviously got the height, but I think our defenders played him pretty poorly because they allowed him to jump at the ball, so there was no body contact and he just had free passage to obviously mark the ball. Secondly, if our frontal pressure and our team defence is down, which it was, well, then it doesn't really matter what you do from a coaching box point of view. And we tried Lucas Cook as our #1 key defender. We tried Brodie Myercheck on him. We obviously tried to double team him a couple of times, and then in the end I put Jordan Lyle down there as well. So, and then we also had Brodie Myercheck playing as a loose. So there were things that we did, but a bit of my feeling throughout the course of the day is it didn't really matter what we did. It wasn't going to change the course of the match. Collingwood no doubt did their homework, but also too their midfield won a lot of supply, whereas we had a lot of players that just failed to get any real high possession tally through the midfield, and also too their impact on the day was minimal. So if you're going to lose in a lot of positions, which we did, mate, you're going to lose the game.
You had the players behind closed doors for a little while after the game. Are you able to provide any insight into what the crux of your message was to them?
Yeah, I said to them that I thought it was a disgusting performance, and I don't think I've been as disappointed in a performance like that for a long, long time. And then you try and actually give your view from sitting up in the coach's box, and I guess I call it a helicopter view. And we pointed out that I didn't think we were able to play percentages very early on. Even if you look at the first sort of 10 minutes, I thought we tried to go for way too much, and pressure's always at its greatest early in the game, and there were just simple little things where I thought, and the word I used was that I thought we had some selfish situations that we played accordingly on Saturday, and by that it could be as simple as a player calling for the ball from someone, but he's in no better position to actually then do something with it, or he might get run down from behind, or he might get tackled. Well, to me, again, that's a selfish play, because all you're looking at doing is trying to get a stat. So we need to be certainly more team orientated, and I said that on Saturday after the game. I said our last month we've actually 3 out of the 4 weeks conceded almost in excess of 100 points against, whereas if you had said your first 5 weeks were about probably 60 odd. So it was really just about who was going to actually change the course of the game, even though we had a lot of players down, and I just felt that it was one of our poorer performances. So pretty much that was the summary.
Yeah. And the Development League bounced back from their narrow loss to Coburg with a solid win, so is it safe to suggest that we can expect to see some selection changes for this week?
Yeah, most certainly, mate. And look, whether that is 1, 2, 3, 4, well, we'll just have a good look at it during the week. And when you don't get what you want out on game day, this is the interesting, I guess, conundrum. Do you say, well, we keep guys in there because we think it was a once-off performance? Do we look at the past form? Huey Sanderlands was best on for the development team, and that was good to see. Larry Waddell played, I thought, a reasonably solid game as well. Yacarino's been pretty solid. Hooper's been pretty solid. I think Scotty Clark's form's been pretty solid down back as well. Tommy Gordon, he didn't really do anything wrong when we obviously demoted him back to the twos there a few weeks ago. So I think there's some good young boys. Josh Tynan's pretty hungry at the minute, but he just hasn't got a go. So I think I'd probably raveled off at least half a dozen guys there, and that's what we want, because we want hungry players going forward. And Casey will come here next week feeling pretty good about themselves because they knocked off the previously undefeated Box Hill. So the best way of seeing that this actually hurts is by our response on Saturday against Casey.
And just very quickly to touch on Casey, it feels like we met them not long ago, but we're home again, and they've really struck a purple patch of form since then. So I can only assume that you'll be looking to see that very hungry response from all the boys on Saturday.
Yeah, well, we probably kick-started their blue chip form of late because they haven't been defeated, as you said, and obviously their AFL side's travelling pretty well too, with a big win over West Coast over there in WA. So, but they might have got a few injuries out of their AFL affiliates, so what that means, well, we'll soon see. But we've obviously just got to remain really positive about what we're trying to do, and yeah, we can see this as a bit of a loss, but also too, as you know, losses you got to learn from, and that's going to be the most important thing. That we know we don't like losing at home. We've got to be fairly, I think, hungry about the appetite for the contest and intensity. And I also think that we need to make sure that our overall effort in and around the contest and the ball improves a lot in the next 6 days.
Well, Gary, thanks as always, and good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Sam.